Well, staying in America, and the state of Oregon, which has announced that it is going to sue President Trump to try to stop him deploying National Guard troops to its main city, Portland. Over the weekend, Donald Trump ordered the deployment of troops to the city and said that they would be allowed to use full force if needed to suppress protests targeting immigration detention centers. He described the city as war-ravaged and said the move would protect immigration facilities under siege from what he called domestic terrorists. The announcement marks the third expansion of troops deployments in U.S. cities amid a wider crackdown by the Trump administration on illegal immigration. Oregon's governor denies any national security threat in the city of Portland and said that protests at facilities have been small and that communities are safe and calm.
My conversations directly with President Trump and Secretary Noem, I have been abundantly clear with them that Portland and the state of Oregon believe in the rule of law, and we can manage our own local public safety needs. There is no insurrection, there is no threat to national security, and there is no need for military troops in our major city. Portland's doing just fine. And I made that very clear to the president this morning. Our city is a far cry from the war-ravaged community that he has posted about on social media.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Chico, California, by Bob Mulholland, who's been a member of the Democratic National Committee for 28 years and a delegate to 13 national conventions. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Does Donald Trump have a point when he says that Portland is war-ravaged? Is that how you would describe it?
No, I haven't been to Portland in a while, but I know people there. No, it's Trump is a little boy in an old man's body who constantly needs attention. So he just makes up things, and it's tragic because now the people of Portland are feeling like, hey, why is he attacking us? And we got to remember, I'm old enough, I served in Vietnam, but in 1970, the National Guard went to Kent State, and somebody yelled, and boom, four young people dead. And that's the risk. In Vietnam, 10,000 of our 58,300 that died were from accidents and murders and misuse of guns. And when you send the National Guard out and they have bullets, and I don't know if they will, you risk. And since Portland has been fine until Trump said something, even Republicans in Portland, I've seen quotes saying the president should not send any National Guard troops here. We don't need them.
But I mean, to be entirely fair and objective, I mean, there have been protests since June at immigration facilities in the city, some of which have turned violent.
Well, remember, we have our First Amendment right, and just because two guys are fist fighting, which happens all over America, even separate from politics, doesn't mean you need to send in the National Guard. And it's very risky. There is no massive demonstrations like there was on January 6, 2021, when Trump sent a mob to the state U.S. Capitol and 5 officers died within 24 hours. That's the kind of crime that shouldn't happen, and Trump should have called out the National Guard. Today, or this weekend, he's making it up about Portland. You don't need to send extra troops or any troops to any part of America, rural or city, just because two guys having a fist fight somewhere.
So, I mean, listening to you there, is there a sense then that all this is political, that voters in Oregon sort of lean towards the Democratic Party? Because, of course, Kamala Harris won it in the 2024 election, and the city of Portland is also pretty Democratic. I mean, would you say that Portland is a politically significant place to use to deploy troops for Trump, with its reputation of being a bastion of liberal politics?
Oh, absolutely. And a month ago, Trump was sending the National Guard into Los Angeles on false reasons. The Speaker of the U.S. House, Mike Johnson, a Republican, he's the Speaker, runs the U.S. House. His district in Louisiana has one of the highest crime rates per capita in America. But Trump hasn't sent any troops there. I'm sure Speaker Mike Johnson probably has told Trump, no need to send troops here. We're handling our own crime problem. Remember, crime happens all over the world. Unfortunately, in America, we have allowed so many weapons. You know, there's more weapons than people out in the public, and that's a tragedy.
So, I mean, without making you repeat yourself, and I apologize if that is the case in advance, but if I said to you that there have been protests all over the country, but that it is Portland's reputation as a liberal oasis that is the salient consideration here and marks it out as being a potential place for Mr. Trump to flex his muscle, I mean, would that be a fair assessment?
Yes. Trump talks to his hardcore supporters every day, very conservative, mostly white men who are uncomfortable with the changes in the last 50, 60 years, and attacking Portland or Los Angeles or New York is a nice tragic, but a nice political message to Trump's people.
The Republicans, though, say that it's not purely political, that there is a practical need for troops because dozens of people have been charged for crimes relating to the protests that have happened there since September alone, including arson and assaulting police officers.
Well, that's why every town, every city in America has police forces, chief of police, sheriffs for the non-cities. And that's what their job is. We don't need to send in as if it's like 1968 with Martin Luther King Jr. killed and cities erupted all over the country in anger. I was in Vietnam at the time, so I wasn't here. But that's what police are for. Now, if there's like the Rodney King riots back in Los Angeles when he was beaten up so badly and the police officers that beat him up, there was a massive riot. Yes, that's when you bring in the National Guard, who aren't always trained for this kind of stuff. Most of the National Guard are supposed to be for natural disasters. So when there's massive floods, earthquakes, big fires, the National Guard come in. And it's always risky to have people who are not from the community walking around with rifles and guns. And it just takes one person to come by and, say a word or two or crash a car or spit at an officer, and you might have a terrible, tragic situation. No, this is just Trump. He loves being in the news every day. And tomorrow on Tuesday, he's going to meet with, several hundred generals and admirals to tell them how to act and how to behave, or that he's in charge now. He is the commander in chief. Probably half of them don't like him, but that meeting will happen on Tuesday.
So, I mean, just briefly, because we're almost out of time, it's really nice talking with you. I mean, what's the public mood generally across the US about this issue of immigration and how President Trump is approaching it? I mean, this idea of bringing troops in, how is that playing out?
Well, the latest poll ratings nationwide show Trump is like minus 15 or minus 20, depending on the poll. That Americans have soured on Trump, even a lot of his own supporters. Yes, immigration, when it's seen on TV of people crossing a border, that angers people. But most of the photos and TV images these days are like 12 men, usually men, in mass, grabbing some dishwasher in a restaurant or chasing a bicyclist down the road who's delivering food to some family. And most Americans said, wait a minute, what about the criminal gangs? I thought that's what we're going after. But Trump is so committed to announcing, I have X people in prison ready to be deported, that they're picking up people who have been jewels in many families and towns across America, doing things that help Americans function, like whether in old people's homes where you can't, or in the farm fields where you can't get everyday Americans to work. And that's unfortunate. But I think I'll remind your audience, Trump served one term, and in 2020, American people were tired of all the chaos, all the confusion, and all the false announcements that they threw Trump out of office. And today, most American people are feeling the same way. And the midterms, our congressional races next year, Trump and the Republicans will pay a big price.
On that note, thank you ever so much. Bob Mulholland was a member of the Democratic National Committee. He's been there for 28 years. Thank you very much indeed. He was talking to me on the line from Chico, California.